Yo, what is up, y'all? Got another video for you today. Today is a upper day. Um, Mixing up my pre right now. Got the Raw Essentials sour watermelon. This is what I've been rocking with in the past couple of videos. Just been really liking this flavor. You can use code RShayFit. Use code RShayFit. Save you some money. Support me in the process. I appreciate it. If you don't want to save money or you don't want to support me, I guess don't use it. But if you do want to support me and you need some pre-workout, some protein, or whatever else you can find on rawnutrition.com, use my code or go to the description. My code will be down there and there'll also be a link to like the website. So feel free to use that. But anyways, just making my pre-workout and having my pre-workout meal real quick because like I said, today is a upper day. I think I said upper day. I hope I did. Otherwise I said lower day and that's just wrong. So today's an upper day. Upper A day, I believe. I don't know. It doesn't matter much what upper day it is. It's just the movements are slightly different, but the structure is the same. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Today, I'm going to basically just be taking you guys along taking you guys along on a upper day. And once I'm in there in the gym, I'll also be providing kind of a voiceover of the entire session to kind of show you how I'm structuring my upper days, why I do things the way I do, maybe some form cues, things I keep in my mind that help me connect with certain muscles better, which then you can, go and try and see if it helps you connect with certain muscles better. It may or may not. Everyone's a little different, but these are just the things that I think of that I found work for me. So I'll kind of just take you through the workout, tell you why I do things the way I do, tell you why it's structured the way that it is, tell you some cues on how helps me feel certain things, and maybe it'll be beneficial. So you can either learn some cues to help target that muscle more, get that mind muscle connection. Because I mean, I don't even know if that actually helps or not. Some people say it does, some people says it doesn't. I think it does, just because if you like feel the certain muscle doing like in a lat pull down when you're pulling down, if you feel it in the lats, I mean, you know that you're working the right muscle then, right? So that's my thought. But so maybe some of these cues can help you feel it in certain muscles. Maybe there's some muscles that you don't really feel it in right now, and you get some cues that'll help you feel it in the future when you try this again. But if not, maybe you'll just learn how I structure my workouts, and maybe it can help you kind of structure your workouts to help you achieve the best results that you want for your like kind of workout or physique or fitness goals in general. So that's the plan today. I'm gonna house this rice cake and this pre-workout real quick, and I will see you guys in the gym, and we'll start discussing movement number one. So see you guys in a bit. So the first movement I like to do when I start out my upper days is an isolation movement specifically for my chest. As you can see, I'm doing an incline fly here. I like to start with a chest movement mainly because it's probably my most lagging muscle group, and therefore I want to make sure that my first exercise of this workout is when I'm the most fresh, is all going towards my chest, so I can really get as much out of it as I can. And that is also why I opt to do more of an isolation movement like a fly rather than a press, because in a press I'm also going to kind of activate and recruit my front delts and my triceps as well, which both my front delts and triceps are pretty well developed, and therefore they tend to take over in most pressing movements. And that'll just add more kind of stimulus to my front delts and my triceps rather than my chest. So I want to make sure I'm getting as much chest stimulus and then also kind of warming up the chest, really waking up those muscle fibers in like a sense. And therefore it'll help me kind of connect with them more. So when I do get to my pressing movements, I feel it more in my chest and I can try to keep it out of my front delts and triceps. But like I said, starting with a chest fly here to target my lagging muscle group, and then I will move kind of into a back movement to give my chest a little bit of a break. The next movement, like I mentioned, will be more for back. So recently I've been doing a bent over row. One day I like to start with more of a rowing motion for one upper day to target more of the upper back and get like that back thickness, as they say. And then on my upper day, my upper B day, I will start more with a lat focused movement to kind of get more of the width. But as you can see here, I just want to make sure I'm controlling the weight, but I'm not worrying about going super slow, just kind of controlling it on the way up and down and trying to keep as much kind of body English out of it as I can, trying not to jerk the weight up and like really kind of rock up and down with my back. You will see I do have a little bit of kind of movement up and down, but I try to keep as straight as I can and kind of keep a good leverage there, bent more like a 90-ish degree angle, and then I allow for a little bit of body English so I can have a little bit more weight to push a little bit more stimulus, but just trying to make sure it stays kind of slow and controlled and making sure most of the emphasis is on my back and really feeling those back muscles contract, which for me, I have a pretty decent back, so it's pretty easy for me to feel it in my back personally. And the next movement I will be doing is, again, back to the chest. We'll be doing a just seated chest press machine. I've been sticking more to machines for my presses or dumbbells for more of my incline presses, which I do incline presses on my upper B day. But on this day, I stick to a incline or a machine press just to make sure that that movement pattern is really locked in one place, and it can help me focus on making sure I'm hitting it in the chest rather than letting my shoulders or triceps take over, because that movement pattern is set and I don't really have to worry about balancing it, or I don't have to use extra thought on like what the bar path is. I can just kind of set it to the right height that I need the machine at, and then just go straight into my presses. So with this, I'm really picturing kind of pressing and trying to push my elbows kind of together. I'm not worrying about pushing the weight up or away from me. I'm really thinking about pulling my elbows together using my chest, and that helps me activate my chest a little bit better. So that was my last chest movement, is that seated chest press. My next back movement and last back movement is now just a lat pull down to get those lats activated, really get the width. Like I said, I want to do one horizontal and one vertical pull every upper day. Today I'm opting just for a standard lat pull down. It's a pretty simple movement. All that I'm really thinking about here is I kind of try to imagine that I'm doing a pull up except on a lat pull down machine. So when I pull it down, I'm pulling my elbows down and I try to push them almost out away from me rather than just straight down. And that just helps me really engage those lats and make sure I'm pulling through my lats and not really pulling it down with my biceps or anything else like that. Next, I move into my arms and shoulders for my upper day, which on my triceps, biceps, side, and rear delts, I only do one exercise for each of these. Starting with triceps, I will do an overhead tricep extension. I've been doing this because the overhead tricep extensions work all three heads of your tricep equally rather than biasing um, other like one or two of the heads. It hits all three equally. And since I'm only doing the one tricep movement per upper day, I want to make sure I'm hitting all three heads of the tricep evenly so that I don't get any uneven growth or anything like that. Another thing I would like to note is I start with triceps for kind of my arms and shoulder movements because I just hit a lat pull down, as you can see, and back will usually hit your biceps a little bit and it'll also hit your rear delts just a little bit as well. So I want to start with triceps because they'll be fresh, haven't had any work to them. I could start with side delts as well, but I just prefer to start with triceps, and maybe in another mesocycle I'll switch to doing kind of side delts first and then a tricep or a bicep or something. But for now, I just start with triceps. And after the triceps, I move into my bicep movement for this upper day, which is just a seated dumbbell curl. I know it might not be the most optimal option to pick, but my arms are pretty well developed and I really like the contraction I get from a seated dumbbell curl. One thing I'm trying to focus on is really rotating that wrist because that will help kind of accentuate the bicep. And as you can feel, I mean, if you just sit here right now and kind of rotate your wrist, point your palm towards the ceiling, you'll feel your biceps start to contract a little bit to just make sure you're getting that full squeeze out of it. For these, I try to stay as straight as I can. I allow a couple kind of cheat reps, letting my body swing a little bit towards the end there just to muster out a couple more reps, really make sure I'm getting as much as I can out of each set. And I opt for the seated rather than the standing dumbbell curl just because I get a little bit lazy and I'd rather sit than have to stand up when I do these. But there's not any other reason besides that to why I opt to do them seated rather than standing. The last two movements I do on these upper days is my side delts and then my rear delts, as you'll see. So for side delts, I opt for this standing cable Y raise. So I'm a little bit behind the cable. As you can see, I'm trying to at least get fully down. If not, sometimes I let it come across my body just a little bit to get a little bit more stretch in that side delt, setting the cable at about waist level. So when the muscle is in the stretch position down there, it's at about a 90-degree angle between my arm and the cable, as you can see. And that just provides the maximum amount of stretch on it. And these Y raises are a bit brutal, but I feel like they really do activate the side delts. So just make sure you have that cable down at your waist, and then when you are pulling up through them, picture pushing the weight away from you rather than just trying to lift your arm up. Try to lift your arm and push it out away from you, and it should help you really get some good activation in that shoulder. And last, as I mentioned, I go on to rear delts, which again, I'm just doing cables. I'm doing just a reverse fly here with the rear delts. I would also like to do sometimes a seated pec deck, like reverse fly, but unfortunately my main gym that I go to does not have a pec deck, oddly enough. So instead I'm opting for these single arm reverse flies on the cable. I just set the cable, as you can see, kind of about shoulder height, and then I just, again, I want to make sure I'm trying to drive through my elbow almost. I'm trying to push my elbow back as I go around rather than just pulling my arm around. So in my head, I'm picturing taking that elbow and just pushing it backwards while I keep the arm as straight as possible and like pulling it back with that rear delt, if that makes sense. Otherwise, I don't really have many other cues here for the rear delts, just making sure I'm getting a good stretch as I come all the way across my body and then pulling it with that rear delt across my body again. So that is it for my typical upper day. Like I said, on these upper days, I'm trying to really target the chest, as that is my biggest lagging muscle group. But I also don't want to drive too much volume and kind of like overtrain myself in it. Could I maybe push a little bit more volume? Absolutely. But I've been finding some decent growth with how I have this structured, as at least as of now. Of course, that is always subject to change, and I always keep that in mind. So every couple of weeks, I do about 6-week mesocycle. So after 6 weeks of running the same program, I usually come back, reassess, see what movements are feeling good, see where I'm seeing progress or where I'm not, and then also maybe reassess the volume and increase volume of exercises, or sometimes even change up my entire split entirely. But I like to run the same program for at least 6 weeks to make sure I'm progressing, tracking all my weights, make sure I'm getting at least progressive overload either through increase in weight or an increase in reps. Right now, I stick to 2 top sets per movement, shooting for about 10 reps, and then trying to fail or at least hit technical failure at the end of each of those sets. So after 10 reps, I hope to be around technical failure where I wouldn't be able to get another rep with good form. Anyways, with all that said, that is all I have for you guys today. I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully you can gain some tips here or see some kind of cues to target muscles better, or even just kind of an idea on how to structure your workouts. The biggest thing I would say is if you have a lagging muscle group, like for me, for example, it is my chest, you should make sure to target that muscle group first in your workout so you can hit it when you're as fresh as you can and really drive as much stimulus into that muscle as you can. If you guys would like to see me do kind of a similar video where I discuss some cues and kind of how I decide to do things for some of my other days, like my upper B day, for example, or my lower A or lower B days, please let me know. Otherwise, that is all I got for you guys. I appreciate you all sticking around to the end. Make sure, if you enjoyed this video, to drop a like, subscribe, maybe share with a friend, and use code RSHAYFIT if you want to support me and the channel. I really appreciate it. But otherwise, that's all I got for you guys. I will catch you guys next Monday in the next video. Appreciate you watching. Peace.